Hello, hello. As I understand, we're already online. Today we're going to talk about a topic that's been in our all team syncs and many smaller or bigger discussions in teams, in management level. And the topic is sustainability. And the goal of today's discussion is to dive a little bit deeper into a few aspects of sustainability and maybe some opinions. I have asked you some questions before the discussion, and we'll have a chance to take a look at your answers and reflect on them. So our goal today is to go into sustainability, what sustainability is in business and at Telesoftas, to see how sustainability aligns with our goals, our way of working, where we want to go, and to get some insights on how other businesses are doing and why it's important, why sustainability is important, and why we have to go this path. And today with us we have three guests. First of all, we have Donatas, our social responsibility consultant that guided Telesoftas team in the creation of Telesoftas sustainability strategy. People and culture lead Vaida and Šarūnas, our CEO. And to understand a bit more on the value in having Donatas here today, I wanted and to see what kind of the perspective he can bring. It's essential to hear from you, Donatas. How long are you working in this field? With what kind of questions are you working? And your journey in sustainability topic.
Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me. It's nice to be here. And I had an opportunity while preparing for the discussion to understand that it's been a year since the first thing we have done here, the training, to help you understand better what it is, why it's important. So I think it's very nice to be back after 12 months from the beginning, but of course I have been here more times. So basically I started working as a communications professional. In 2007, I had an opportunity to work with one IT company, which is very known now. It's Telia, but before it was called Teo. So it was only the company, not the mobile was the separate company, Omnitel, but Teo was the company which was providing like internet services, also B2B services, and they started the FTTH, which is the fiber optics, and also the digital television. So one of the projects I have been working with was the sustainability report. It was not called the sustainability report, it was called the corporate social responsibility report. And it was made according to GRI, Global Reporting Initiative. So basically I have helped them with 2 or 3 sustainability reports, and also helping them to find like various initiatives on how to engage into this field in the S part. That means some ideas like, for example, making part of a budget for sponsorship decided by employees. And also we had a very big internal educational and I would say, educational campaign about the environmental skills, like the things which now are very basic, like printing on the second part of the paper, asking if I have to print, and turning the light off and things like that. And this campaign was in 2008, and I was very happy that this campaign won the award by International Public Relations Association for the best internal communications campaign globally, and that it was the campaign which was in the field of sustainability. So since then, like sustainability and corporate social responsibility issues have always been an internal part of my job as a communications professional. I have worked with various companies, starting like with the smaller ones and finishing with the bigger ones, like for example in logistics industry and so on. And about 5 years ago, I decided to dive deeper into the topic and focus much more on the sustainability from A to Z. That means like usually the companies say, okay, we want to make a sustainability report. And I say, okay, guys, what have you done there? So let's go a bit back and to understand your impacts, your strategy, your main topics, and then try to make the plans, to implement them, and then the report and communicate. So basically, yeah, I'm working with a full scope, and my clients are companies from various sectors. Like it can be like the service companies like you, and also the companies who manufacture things. So about, I would say, like in the past few years, more than 10 companies I have managed to have a closer opportunity to help them.
So I see that you are in this field almost 10 years, you can say.
Well, yeah, basically it's like you count. If you count like from my first sustainability report, so it would be like 15 years, I would say, since the first report. But you know, because it was not the sustainability, it was like the corporate social responsibility, and that's a very important distinction, because in 2007 and 2008 it was, okay, guys, how we do business, it's our job, and we have some money, we have a profit, and where do we spend it? Yeah, what initiatives, what sponsorships? That's a bit separate thing, and it was like nice to have then. So when the financial crisis hit in 2008, 2009, a lot of companies decided, okay, it's nice to have, so we have to cut it off from our budget. And in 2020, it's already starting to be announced, like the legislation proposals, because now it's not nice to have. It's mandatory. So yeah, if we take the break, like the gap, when some companies didn't do, of course some did, like voluntary reporting according to GRI. So yeah, you could say like 10 years of active practice in the field.
So we'll see how the talk will go, but maybe it will be interesting to see and to hear from you how the understanding of sustainability and the importance of sustainability changed in these 10 or 15 years. So maybe we'll come back to that. And I wanted to ask you both, when you got familiar with sustainability, and what's your journey, from understanding that, okay, this is important, I need to do certain things as an individual, and we need to do certain things as a company. So what was your journey?
I have a thought now when Donatas was talking that probably I had the social responsibility part of myself for many years. And the sustainability part for me is very connected with that somehow. I feel like all of the activities I do in my leisure time, like voluntary activities and so on, it is a part of sustainability nowadays, though 10 years ago nobody was calling them like that it's, sustainability way of society, of living. So I think from a broader perspective, I've been in voluntary activities for almost 15 years now, and I feel that I have a privilege to live a life with many benefits around me, and I need to give back to the society either my time, my knowledge, my resources, something else. So it's been with me for a while, like a part of my time, but at the same time calling it sustainability for me, it was new. I think it was since Donatas came to Telesoftas and started to talk more about what sustainability is, and then these points connected to me that the responsible way of living, it is sustainable, and the responsible way of living, it is a part of what we need to do. So I mean me as a person, we as a community, we as a company. So for me, those things connected when Donatas came, so a year ago.
And for me, I think very similar to Vaida, I feel. I think that sustainability only put everything into a framework and into some kind of name. But I think that it's so basic, and the way we implement it actually in Telesoftas is also under following these principles. But basically, if you are a mindful person, mindful organization, mindful country, this is what it is, sustainability at the end of the day. So sustainability doesn't mean that you don't use electricity, or you don't go to work, or you don't, build a house. It's about being mindful how you do it. Do you waste resources? Do you waste energy? Do you do it irresponsibly and maybe hurt somebody, nature, other people, or something like this? So I think for me it was always a conflict, like why there is so much buzz when it's such a simple thing. And I'm really glad that now it's more formalized, and now we can look into it as a common sense. It's set ground for a common sense actually in the whole universe, in the whole, not universe, but the whole world, and I hope in the universe eventually. But I think this is my thing. But sustainability itself, it started to come back to me maybe 4 years ago, when the legislation started to appear in the European Union and other places, and I started to think, okay, so we will need this for Telesoftas. To what extent? What does it mean? And then I started to think. Then in my studies in the executive MBA, there were people who were talking about it. There were bigger and small organizations. Some of them were scared. Some of them were doing something. And this is when I realized that, okay, so we need to put it in action. And this is when the journey actually started, when we were looking to look for consultants, for practices, and started the initiatives that we currently have in Telesoftas.
And I think I won't be mistaken. It won't be a mistake to say that the word sustainability raises different feelings, and it has different understanding, you know, from people compared to what kind of experience they had. For example, me myself, I thought that sustainability is mostly recycling and taking care of the earth, limit pollution, and basically that's all. And until we got a chance to get a broader view on what it is. And how it's implemented in our daily life and business decisions. And I wanted to double check with our community what kind of thoughts and perceptions do they have about sustainability. And I asked them a short quiz. And one of the questions that I would like to see the answers on the screen and to show to people online asked, what are your thoughts, associations, hearing the word sustainable business sustainability strategy, and so on. And we received multiple answers, and they start from honest, safe, responsibility, long-lasting, wish to be proud, impactful, green, practical. And on the other hand, we have other associations as greenwashing, or greenwashing if it's used in IT. At least I understand that answer. Flag waving, suspicion, illusion, public relations. So there are some misconceptions, or maybe even feelings that are different from being proud, or this is the only way to go. So Donatas, I have a question for you. Based on your experience, what are common misconceptions about sustainability in business? And how they can be effectively addressed? How can business, government, other people address these misconceptions and what they are?
Okay, yeah. So before answering directly to a question, I would like go back to the point I mentioned, and especially reflecting to what you said about understanding that CSR is also part of sustainability. So for me, like, the main distinction to understand is this: how we do business is our thing, and then we do some initiatives, yeah? Like, we make it better for the people, for the communities, we donate some things for the art museums and so on, but how we do business is our stuff. So with this thinking, we use different words, and corporate social responsibility was one of the words. When the term sustainability came, it was understanding that no, there is a huge difference on how you make the business. So that's the ethical question. And I would say that, yeah, and now it's getting some backlash. The backlash is huge in the US, for example, because sustainability became a political question there, yeah? Because, it's America, the hardcore liberals, and Milton Friedman, who said the only purpose of business is like making money for the shareholders, and what about stakeholders? No. our only stakeholders are shareholders. So here we have some ethical dilemmas. And before it was the regulation, so the company was free. Yeah, like, okay, you can be corporate socially responsible. Like we say, okay, I want to look good. Yeah, because who doesn't like the companies who give out monies and help like some art foundations and things like that. And it was like these practices, which now we would call like greenwashing practices, these are the ones which the trust in this thing and in businesses, it got quite small because of these practices. And when the concept changed, but it's still not regulated for everyone, yeah? Now, for example, we have a regulation for the disclosures, but still there are a lot of things to interpret. Like the company can decide itself which are the topics, material, and which impacts are worth mentioning. Yeah, like the material impacts means that our impact is good, but it's still on the company before it gets audited. So there is also quite a blurry line because, you know, EU is like the Commission is heavily influenced by the business lobbyists. And of course, a lot of businesses we can, for example, I can mention one head of one supermarket who said, oh my God, with sustainability, how much paper we will use to make these reports? Well, these reports are going to be like online, yeah, but still. So there is a huge problem because a lot of companies, and that's the truth, a lot of companies, like the main motivation why they do it is PR. Yeah, because it was fashionable and they jumped into that, and now it became very unfashionable in this way that if you talk to people directly and they hear the word sustainability, they say, oh, again, like that's what happened because it's too much of sustainability. And the word in Lithuania, tvarumas, like, you know, yeah, what is it about? This can be tvarus, yeah, and the business, and because basically in English, like sustainability, we have another word which is darnumas, like sustainable development, and sustainable development is not greenwashing, because United Nations have understood that we have to balance the economical progress with the social progress and with our externalities for the environment. There is a very nice TED talk I would suggest to everyone. It's called the Donut Economics. Because before it was thought that, okay, so this is like the environment, yeah, like the nature, and there are like resources, yeah, we still have in some companies like human resources department, yeah. Think of a word in human.
HR.
Yeah, like human resource. It's like a resource. The human is a resource for the business. And then
resource planning.
Yeah, and then on top we have like the business. And when we started to understand that nature is limited, yeah, our natural resources are limited, and even people are limited. Well, of course, there are some businesses who say, well, if you don't like, there are 10 people waiting, but we now understand, like I would say, most of the companies in Lithuania understand that the resource is limited, yeah, humans. So we understand the dependencies. And that's also like the fundamental change in views, which is once again about ethics. Like when I do business, I have to be moral, yeah? Like if I have to be moral when I'm a person, so why do we think that business is only about the profit? So like the triple bottom line, for example, this conception is about also understanding our externalities and things like that. But of course, there are a lot of, because it's a very involving sphere, yeah? Because we are still measuring the success of the government or of a country by GDP, which is only the money, yeah? We're not measuring other impacts. And we start to measure the companies differently, not only by profit. But it's very important to say that being able to generate profit is also part of sustainability. So there is not like a dilemma or a conflict. Yes, of course, maybe your profit margin will be not like 30%, it will be like 25% because of some changes. Yeah. For example, and then you can go. But this is about what I think Gordon Gekko said, Wall Street Wolf. Greed is good. So no, greed is not good. That's the ethical question, and here comes the sustainability. But because of this greenwashing and very fluffy boundaries, so of course a lot of people don't trust, they mistrust, and still we have the big corporations, because there's also another very big distinction to make, and the question would be for example, could a tobacco industry company be sustainable? Yeah, it could.
Oil company.
Yeah, oil company. It could have a very good sustainable management. It could make a report, it could have goals, it could have indicators, policies, but still, if you look from a sustainable development goals perspective, does the success of this company is good or not? What's the good profit margin? Someone could say, 50% profit margin is too much, it should be 5%. I would say, if it's an oil company, even 1% growth is not good.
It should be going down, you mean,
Yeah. If it's some IT company which is helping companies to become more green, it can grow at the rates of thousands %, for example. It would be good for the society. So this is a very, very moral dilemma sometimes, and I'm happy that it's put in the legislation, because when it's the law, the company has less opportunity to argue, And I agree, Šarūnas, with what you said, because now everyone has to become a bit more good, because that's the law.
So I have a question for you. How make sure that our sustainability efforts won't become a public relations and will be moral and be valuable and impactful to communities and environment? How we can do that?
I think that coming back to what I said in the beginning, that it should be part of the common sense, and I want it to be like that. And with the guidance of Donatas and all the workshops that we had with the management team, it became pretty clear that the way we talk about sustainability in Telesoftas is integral part of our everyday things and processes and tasks that we do. So I think that sustainability should not be something separate. As Donatas said, it's not the social relations or whatever it was called before. The goal is to understand our social impact, our environmental impact, our governance and economical impact, and bring those concepts into the units or departments where these concepts are exercised and used and worked on. And I think while doing our strategy, this is what we achieved. We actually looked what is happening in Telesoftas, what practices we already have, what we want to have, what makes sense for us. Of course, we also thought about public relations, because being a sustainable, if you do it in the right way, I want to be proud of it, I want to boast about it, and I want to inspire others to follow us, that it shouldn't be just a waste of budget just to have a marketing campaign. Better buy a better marketing campaign where you advertise your services actually, or what you do. So I think that even it's our first attempt and our first iteration, but I think we succeeded in capturing really realistic and down-to-earth and related goals to our everyday life. And actually, at least myself, I feel even challenged a bit. So we didn't have a code of conduct that we want to create now. And I always was thinking about it, but it put into my head the idea that this is how it could be framed and this is how it could be created. So I think this is the only way how to do it without creating a greenwashing machine, or a mechanism. You need to see inside into different areas and think what we're already doing and how to improve it and build on that. The only thing that we need to do now is to review everything around and maybe report, aggregate, remind, talk about it. Because I liked one of the sayings, it was in a different context, but sometimes doing things unconsciously is not good enough. Because unconscious efforts in sustainability, I think they have the limits, how you can impact and influence. So I think what we are doing now, we are being sustainable and socially responsible and so on, but not unconsciously. We are being now conscious, we plan, we review, we come back, and we share it with others. So I think this is the path that Telesoftas chose at the moment.
And at the same time, I will add on that PR is not only that thing. When we look at other companies and we are looking to those who are bragging a lot about the things they are doing, and we look at them and say, oh, they have this and that, and they are so good. But what we see is basically based, like not 100%, but basically either on social media, on the articles we read about it, or something else. And if we are not reporting on many good things we are doing, basically creating the good environment for our employees, creating good businesses with successful clients and so on, if we are not talking about this, then how others would know that we are doing good? And without the PR, it is impossible because, there should be a message around it. But where we need to be mindful, I think, not to do it because of PR, but do the things and be proud about them. So I think that's the golden bullet,
Yeah, and I would like also to comment on a few points because with my background in communications, and I remember it's a very common discussion with the companies, like should we communicate, especially it was with corporate social responsibility and sponsorships, for example. Yeah, if we donate, should we talk or shouldn't we? Because there is like we have to understand we're living in a Christian ethics. So what's the Christian ethics about? It's like the good deeds are done in silence. And that's a very terrible thing because why? Because I totally agree with what Shurna said. Yeah, if you want to make others also behave good, you have to show the example. Just look at Radarom, yeah? Like when we had a company which doubled the money raised in a few hours, now we had another company which is following. Yeah, of course, some of them, like part of our motivation is communications, but like I would say, like everything is communications. We're doing now, yeah, with your partner, you're also using a lot of PR techniques, yeah, because we are social beings. We want to be liked. And it's a natural part. And yeah, of course, the PR, like the word itself, I would suggest you better say like communications, because PR for some people, they heard about, especially from political communication, it's a bad word itself. And here I think like the skepticism, because I know that you have a few skeptics here about sustainability, and I think it's not about you, about what the company is doing, but it's basically about the people's experiences with the sustainability before. Like maybe they had some greenwashing practices, some other companies, maybe they worked in some company which said we are sustainable, yeah, and they had the like personal, and the word itself, but it's not the word which is important. It's the actions, what you are doing, and your strategy is basically built on the things you are doing. It's not like something very. I would even a bit challenge that maybe it's not too ambitious if you're talking about your mission, because your mission is to be a certified and recognized partner in sustainability. So of course, to be like a partner in sustainability, everyone would first ask, okay, are you guys sustainable? Yeah, because we don't want an unsustainable company to be our partner in sustainability. So that's like the first thing you have to do. And I also had the opportunity to review again while I was traveling here from Vilnius by train, by the way, which is the most sustainable way to travel. And the hosting a report. So I would say like 70-80% of the things they have put in their report, you are doing it. So why not to talk here and to say that. So don't be afraid of that and of the concept of of greenwashing and things like that. But I think it's very good that you understand that it has to be done.
Afraid anymore maybe than we were a year ago, bragging about our good deeds and so on. But we have noticed that we have first to do real things, have measurements, include our community, help educate them, and only then, little by little, or maybe strongly, talk outside. Because otherwise, people internally won't accept it as, yeah, it's happening, because that is sustainability. And we now see that our challenge is to show them what sustainability is, and all these actions that we are doing all connects to sustainability. And this is the approach that we decided to take, not to do a huge extra thing, but first implement into our processes that already work, and go a bit higher, but be real and achieve.
I really liked Donata's this Christian complex or whatever it is, but I think it's a syndrome in our nation and culture everywhere. I even think that we are struggling to be proud of even the project sometimes that we work, like how each of you feels when you have to brag about a project, for example, or the code that you written, which is used by, I don't know, by multi-million companies and many people. So I think in Lithuania we have this. And sustainability, we're having this greenwashing or this negative, so everybody's even more shy. And that's why it is, I think, a stigma in a way now, and we need to overcome it. And I think this is what is happening.
I just had an idea. I didn't have it before, but I think the other part which distinguishes, because there is a very nice book about the Protestant ethics and how it helped the economies to thrive, like for Protestant ethics. And the other thing which distinguishes Christian countries from Protestant countries is the church and the ceremonies. And I think I could compare like the ceremonies in the church like to the greenwashing, because, well, we like the ceremonies, yeah? So I would think that that's why like the companies understand that they like the brand, like the fashionable, shiny things. For example, we have like this, don't call it certificate, a label, a metų gaminys, yeah? Like some sausage or some cheese has this metų gaminys, and usually we just pay money to, but it's so important for me, yeah? Because if it's like the product of a year, people would buy. So it's a very interesting paradox that we feel bad if we have to brag, yeah? Because we're so small, like, when you go to a Gothic church, you're very small. But when others brag, like the companies brag, yeah? And when you see the religious procession with all these clothes and all these golds on the fingers of people from America, yeah? It's good for us, yeah? So I think, yeah, that's just a bit out of the topic, but it influences, because it's like a lot of things in communication. It's about the culture we are having, what's in our mental code, what's good, what's bad.
And as we already started to talk about Telesofta sustainability, Telesoftas, I would like to see Telesofta sustainability directions, if we can, on the screen in a second. And I have a question for Aida. How do sustainability direction, us having a sustainability direction and goals, impacted P&C work and goals? Did it impact?
I think it gave the direction, basically. I don't think it was new, because the discussion we had while creating those goals was that people and the community is our biggest value, because we are people-based service, basically. So I think this was not a new understanding. However, it put the importance on the topic itself, and this is where I said that this social responsibility. So for me, being responsible towards employees is also social responsibility, basically.
And it is.
And it is taking care of our own people, not only to the communities externally somewhere, but also to the communities internally here who are working in Telesoftas. So it shaped the P&C direction a bit, I would say. Not totally new, but we were doing, like, for example, employee well-being activities for already a few years. And we just gave a naming on it and the meaning and the targets, what we want to achieve. But basically, those ideas were not new, just in a new shape, you know. And I think even the engagement and happiness surveys we were not doing previously, but we are doing now for a second year already, or even a bit more. So I think it is important that our community would be also those, you know, those who are the advocates of Telesoftas, that they are happy here, that they have a possibility to grow here. And I think this is very, very important, and not only to PNC. I think PNC is just the face of, you know, the department who is taking care of our people, but basically for everybody, for all the managers, for all the administration. And most importantly, I think it should be a goal for each and every one of us, that we would notice each other, that we would, you know, give kudos to each other, that we would notice each other's good job, that we would appreciate each other's efforts, that we would, you know, try to help to learn from the mistakes, which everybody does. So I think this should be our Telesoftas global sustainability goal, to have this employee well-being and to have this employee growth, which is already, just we put focus on it.
And it's a very good example of how sustainability is a tool for making companies succeed. Because a good sustainability strategy is not some, you know, collection of initiatives. And that's the thing, like many companies still who want to be sustainable, they don't get this idea that it shouldn't be just, okay, sustainability initiatives. Because initiative is initiative, yeah? Like you could do, for example, okay, today we go plant trees, tomorrow we go save monkeys, next day we go and protest near the zoo because it's animal welfare, yeah? And then we go and give like soup to the elder, and different initiatives. But what's in it for business? So basically, and now with European regulation, with this Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive and European Sustainability Reporting Standards, the principle of double materiality comes there. This is the principle which is, while you construct sustainability strategy, you look at two things. One is your impacts, yeah, like what your company does, where is the negative impact, and another things are risks and opportunities. So basically, Telesoftas is a company which is very dependent on the people, because it's like an intellectual product, and the people are the main success for the company. So of course, like employee burnout, yeah, days of sickness, it has a very huge financial value for the company. So, you know, putting these things into the priorities of sustainability strategy is very logical, to make the strategy not apart from your business strategy, yeah, and to have like a project, but an integral part which helps for you to reach your business goals. So I'm very happy with these directions, because I remember like when we started our cooperation, and you made a survey last year or in February, and the people were telling, okay, which are the directions the company should move about. And it was like, we should think more about like responsible business and a bit more about environment and things like that. But the main focus should be in S part, like our employees. And I think that here is a very nice balance.
And another thing that I noticed when we were creating this strategy, the thing that we didn't think that much, we thought, but not that much, how to measure. Is there impact? Is there a difference? I think that what strategy brought our thinking, okay, how to measure, and looking for ways how to measure it, how to compare and look for reasons to help these people that maybe don't believe, don't see value, to see, if not, you know, in feeling in numbers. So I think that's what this strategy also did, and from now we have a way to measure, or we still have figure out how to measure, but this is the first goal too.
I think, Julia, the measurements are, this is the point where we moved from intuitive behavior, because now we said, okay, so this is important, and in order this to be successful, we need to achieve this and that. And actually the hardest part was not the goals or the initiatives themselves, but to decide, so what we want to achieve in each of them. And I think this is where the actual thinking and the extra step happen, which we wouldn't have done otherwise if we didn't do the strategy, if we didn't have this amazing directive from European Union
And Donatas, so why do companies need this sustainability strategy?
Well, to be successful in the long way.
One, to be successful in the long run.
Yeah, and the strategy, because what we did here, like I said, why I say it's not very ambitious, because this is the first part, because I remind the mission, yeah? Telesoftware is a certified and recognized partner in sustainability. So now we are working on this certified, but not about like the legal certifications, but doing your homework to be able to be certified, for example, by putting out the report and not getting the negative feedback, but people agreeing that yes, this is the things you really do, but becoming the partner in sustainability, yeah, like for example, creating the solutions for the companies, helping them, and this is where we have another part where I talked about the oil companies and tobacco industry. Like one thing is sustainability management, another thing is sustainable business model. So of course for IT it's quite easy because like the world is moving towards digitalization, so your demand is growing, but there are huge business opportunities, like because there are so many issues and challenges in sustainability. For example, how to track the products, like from the resources to the final project, for example, and blockchain technology can do that, and a lot of IT solutions. How companies will put all this data required by CS3D, Will they use Excel, or will they ask some company to help them and build some software tools and things like that? So I think for some companies, it's important to do sustainability strategy to be able to get these business opportunities.
So it's our case too.
Yeah, totally. Because like in 5 years, when there will be a much bigger demand for the sustainable solutions, the choosing of a partner would be looking on how sustainable the partner is. So the ones who go ahead and did it last year, because now I can tell you the demand for sustainability experts is growing so much and the supply is not growing so much. And the next year when the companies will have to report, it will be a very huge problem in the market to find a good sustainable specialist. So you were very wise to do it before you had to report. So the second thing would be the opportunities and many other things, like it helps to understand your risks, and to understand the risks means to manage the risk. Also, for the communications, for the public relations, for the reputation, because like the last Edelman Trust Barometer, it's a global survey done every year by Edelman, which is a huge public relations network, and they ask the people whom do they trust. So the business is the most trusted, and the institution which people think is the most competent, and they have the biggest projections
and expectations,
and expectations for businesses. Because the decline in political interest in political institutions is quite big, and that means that there is a demand for that, and businesses are very, very strong,
And have you witnessed companies that implemented, implemented sustainability strategies and it gave value to them? Have you witnessed in these 15 or 10 years? Also mentioned Telia.
Yeah. So for Telia, I think you could see the value in reputation. You could really see in these days, especially when they were the first ones doing so many things. And even now I think like, off the record, but I'm the client of the company. And when every year you get an offer from others. And when I go to the office and I see what kind of client service I get, and they wouldn't do that if the people weren't happy. Because you can train as much as you want your your salesman, but if he's not happy himself, the client would feel it at some point. So I think that this is, like you said, because we had a very also big focus on the people, on making them feel good, it helps their business. And of course, we have some other companies which are starting to do some things, like in Lithuania and sustainability sphere, it would be like we have Auga, like the innovator, the one who's trying to solve the big problems, and the tractor which they are making, which will be powered by biomethane, because the biggest problem are emissions and how to use these emissions, and also decarbonizing the transport sector is a huge problem in Lithuania. We're not doing anything. Well, we're doing some things, like we have some more electrical charging things and so on, but still that's a lot of things to do. So we have some success stories, I would say, but you can't expect a very quick results, and that's the problem, and that means that you have to have a very long-term commitment. But some things you can see even in the communications, which are like the low-hanging fruits, about risk management. It's true that also some companies, when you talk to them, say, oh my God, we haven't thought about this, but this is a part of our ESG, like in governance, for example, data privacy. Like 2 years ago, when we started talking that, okay, data privacy and cybersecurity is also part of governance, and it was like, but it's a business. It's a business, but still, it's also part of sustainability, because if not managed, it can have a very bad impact, for example, for the clients whose data you are gathering. And still now, we see like so many companies who have, their data, like their infrastructure hacked, their data stolen, and things like that. And it's like, guys, and it has also the fines, lawsuits and things like that. So I think this is basically, like people don't like audits, because audit, and especially the managers, oh my God, like the audit is coming, everyone is so stressed. But making a sustainability strategy is also it's a soft audit on some spots, and it helps the company to understand the risks and to control them better, and also to start understand that the things they are doing, they also have value. And when the revenue drops down by 10%, it's not automatically that we have to cut our salaries 10%, because, well, the margin has to be the same. No, because we're also putting into the measurement equation also not only profit, but other indicators. And I think that's the most important thing. Just the company starts to understand the longer perspective, the longer value.
So sustainability and stability strategy, it's a long game, and impactful results you will see in time, in longer time. Some results you might see in shorter terms, depending on your goals and where you're working, but it gives you focus, and it's easier to go somewhere and to make an impact and see how your business transforms and what it can offer to others after you have certain knowledge and certain technologies and so on.
So and now it will change drastically, because now with the regulations, because only the biggest companies fall under the regulations directly, but the regulation is about value chain. And now we have a quite difficult situation for some small and middle-sized companies, because the big companies say, okay, we want our supply chain, value creation chain to be sustainable, and the most easy way is to ask for certificates, for example, for the policies and things like that. And that could be, if not managed, it could be a bad thing, because it could lead to diminishing, and also some small-sized companies or medium-sized companies, and it could lead to the concentration of businesses just to the big companies. Because for big companies, it's easy, like if ISO certification costs like 3 certificates 10,000 euros. So for bigger company, it's small money. For medium company, it's big money. So that's but now we will see that even sustainability doing something where will be the real license to operate, because we have been talking about like the social responsibility is also some kind of license for operate. Yeah, like for example, if tobacco companies didn't sponsor so much stuff, we would have like the restrictions much stronger. Yeah, we have the gambling industry, which now is a very hot topic, and I know that in Telesoftas it's also a topic because of your business some cases. So if the gambling industry didn't support the sports, yeah, it would be very easy to say we should ban all the advertising. But now, because we do that, they bought their license to operate. But it was before it was like the mandatory. But now when it's mandatory, you could easily lose your license to operate if you don't do these things, because the law is there. And in the progress, there are like greenwashing directive, which will not let you to put the label and say this is green product and so on. And also due diligence directive is on the way. Now it's been stopped a bit by German industrialists, basically, like German business, because and this is another thing why people are skeptic about sustainability. Like for example, with CO2 emissions, we have scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. So the company says that we want to reduce by 40% our CO2 emissions, and then they don't say which one of the scopes.
In which scope they will do it.
Yeah. And then they say, okay, we will reduce 40% in scope 1 and scope 2.
So scope 1 is your own
direct impact, basically.
your direct operations. Scope 2 is
the electricity and the heating in the office, for example.
Scope 3.
And scope 3 is your value chain.
Okay.
Suppliers, basically.
Yeah. So, for example, if you manufacture some things directly, that's your scope 1. If you outsource the manufacturing, that's your scope 3. So if you are like a clothes producer, you can easily, for example, you just make another entity, yeah? And this entity, which is another entity, yeah, it manufactures, it emits the most of CO2, but it's your scope 3, and you manage to reach the goal. So there are, and the same things we're doing with our, productions, which is happening in Bangladesh, in China, and things like that. So that's why the due diligence directive was stopped, because it would tackle one of the biggest problems. But here, yeah, it's easy for the companies because they outsource things. And of course, you can have a very long discussion, because what's interesting about sustainability and what's so challenging, there is no silver bullet. Yeah, you're always balancing the social impact, the economic impact, and your economical value, and the good governance lets you do that. But for example, you can argue that if these companies wouldn't produce clothes in Bangladesh, a lot of people in Bangladesh wouldn't have jobs. Yeah, that's a valid argument from one side of view. It's valid, yeah, because people wouldn't have jobs in some places if the business and the capital didn't move there. So the important thing, of course, are the conditions, the wages. Do we pay the same wages for people there and here? And the E-part, yeah? So do we submit and to the same environmental principles we have here in Europe? Do we also count this emission? So it's a very tricky question, and because it's very tricky, there are a lot of practices which are like gray practices, somewhere in between, and that's why the belief in sustainability, yeah, it can be tricky sometimes, but you have to understand, like, nothing is like so white and black sometimes when you talk about a very complex questions, because some questions are complex. It becomes white and black when I look from my individual point of view, yeah, like based on my values and my ethics. But when you're talking about businesses, it's still, we don't have like one moral code. Like even for the people, yeah, we don't have, like, some people behave like this way. We have some understanding what is good, bad, but when it comes to business, it's even more tricky. So with a legislation, it comes very easy to say, this is good, this shouldn't be done. And if you don't do that, yeah, sorry, maybe you will lose your license to operate.
And I'd like to come back for quick to reporting. So from next year, we will have to report our sustainability efforts and be able to track certain measurements, not only have 100% of just what we are doing, but how it creates an impact. And we have 4 minutes left, so I want to go next to the Mentimeter slide 2. We asked the people who has the biggest responsibility for sustainable future. Yeah, and we see the separation, and we see how people think that little efforts and responsibilities on politicians, a bit bigger part is in business, and the biggest part is for everyone. So what would be the right answer? What do you think?
I think, everything starts from the small parts, no? So it starts from us, from everyone. But, I think what business and politicians do, they unite the power of small entities, and then they can become an initiative or movement that can change, that can impact at a larger scale. So I think all of the answers are correct, to be honest. I don't know, Donatas, what do you think?
It's a very huge discussion about should it be top down or bottom up, yeah? But basically, I would say that we have to understand that it's very good, like our own initiatives are very good things, yeah? Like saving things and reducing our CO2 impact, so on. But the biggest problems basically are in the big polluters, in the big emitters, and in the businesses which are behaving badly. And the political system it reflects that. So I don't think that we will be able to change the world into a sustainable without changing the economics and political system, because we can do as much as we want, yeah? We could have some things, we have Greta, yeah, we have some green parties somewhere, but when it goes to the lobbying corridors of a parliament, of European Parliament, so the ones who have power, it's not we have a lot of power, yeah, we can cancel some things and so on, but still a lot of power is still in the business and in politicians. And I think it's very important not to put the responsibility, because that's usually what some businesses do. They say, guys, like we wouldn't sell the tuna koldūnai, but our customers want to buy the tuna, so we have to sell, yeah? And all 4 supermarkets do that. If one cancelled, and others could also do that, but it's very easy for them to say, it's the customer who's responsible, yeah?
But that means that customer has an influence. Like if all the customers would cancel, like plastic cups, for example, in the, in beloved Circle K, for example. So I think that would be a huge impact to reshuffle the business.
Yeah, but the thing is that, well, living in Lithuania, with our level of political activism and, we are not French people who protest every day.
Yeah.
Burn the streets.
Yeah, like so how many people would do that? And even if you cancel it, yeah, like some people, because, I'm talking this as being from communications, the power of manipulation, the techniques, the comms and marketing have, long life techniques, which are very, and we have to understand that everyone is, and now with social media, we're very easily manipulated. So, of course, our decisions are important, but it's not enough to save the planet from burning, because now the planet is burning.
Well, Matt, even the CEO who is, or the person who is sitting in the government, he's also, part of that everyone, because even the people who are running the world, they're also people, but I agree with you that it's a balance. So it has to, so many interactions and so much is happening, but I think the only change is happening when you do things, and there are lots of people who can inspire, and like this little girl like Greta that you said, she's a bit crazy at the same time, but I am so impressed by the change that she did. Like, oh my God. So the power is can arise from a very unexpected sources if
Yeah,
it's
I totally agree. And even with businesses, yeah, like if more and more companies start doing sustainability, it would give a signal for the politicians because politicians are so dependent. Like they have a power, but they're very afraid of, businesses saying,
Yeah.
oh my God, another tax, yeah? And of people saying another tax, like for example, for diesel. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's why it's a very funny thing, but we see that in 10 or 20 years' time, that China could be the most sustainable because
China.
because for them it's very easy to make top-down decisions because of the system.
And we just ran out of the time, and I think we will give the final remarks and the final word to the public. We have a quick Menti questionnaire. Yes, and those here can scan the code or enter Menti on your browser and enter this code 34493911. And I have one question. It's gonna be very, very quick, and you will be able to see the results right away. So do we have people that joined? Because after we will change the screen, you won't see the QR anymore, but you will be able still to go to Menti by entering the code. Can we see the results? Okay, the voting is not very active, but the last question was. Do you feel that you learned more about sustainability in businnes or telesoptas? So I think the yes is like twice bigger than the no. Not really, yeah. So the expectation out of this discussion was to bring a broader view, to give a bigger understanding and to understand how everything is complex, but at the same time, if we tackle step by step and with simple decisions and integrate in our own activity, we will move forward. And everyone should do that. Thanks God or thanks governments for the reasoning and that we need to report from we and others need to report, because it will encourage companies to bring more focus. But let's see how it goes, where it goes in 10 years. Okay, so thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And it got 6-1.
Yeah, so it's
Increased.
a total winner. Okay, bye-bye.